Ever stop to think why someone who, say, wins the lottery often ends up broke just a few years later? It's kind of a sobering thought, isn't it?
There really is.
Or consider this, the investment strategy that worked brilliantly last decade. Well, it might be the very thing dragging your portfolio down today.
Right. These kinds of financial puzzles, they make you wonder, what are the real fundamental truths about actually building wealth?
Yeah, and what's fascinating is how our own assumptions, our ingrained ideas about money and success, can often, well, lead us completely astray.
Mm-hmm. Those examples really highlight that lasting financial well-being, it isn't really about chasing trends or, just getting lucky.
Welcome to Book Talk Finance. This is where we roll up our sleeves and really get into the nitty-gritty of building a more secure financial future.
And today, our mission is pretty clear. Get richer.
That's the goal. We've got an amazing collection of guides here on the table, books like The Richest Man in Babylon, The Intelligent Investor, The Millionaire Investor, The Total Money Makeover, The Automatic Millionaire, Die with Zero, The Little Book of Common Sense Investing, Your Money or Your Life, The Boglehead's Guide to Investing, The Millionaire Fast Lane, Cash Flow Quadrant, and The Psychology of Money. Quite a list.
It is. And what we want to do is basically synthesize the core wisdom from all these books.
Exactly. Give you practical, actionable steps towards building wealth without feeling like you need, I don't know, an MBA just to understand it all.
So where do we even start with all this?
Good question. Let's start right at the foundation. Mindset first. Think rich, acquire assets.
Yeah, this initial shift, just how you think about money, it's so powerful.
It really is. It's about moving away from just, wanting to buy stuff.
Towards actively building something solid, a financial foundation.
Precisely. Like in The Richest Man in Babylon. Remember, Bansir and Kobe. Their dissatisfaction, their genuine desire for more, that's what pushed them to seek Arkad's wisdom.
Right, it wasn't just a passive wish like, oh, I hope I get rich.
No, it was an active yearning. They wanted a better financial life.
And then the psychology of money comes in and reminds us that, well, everyone's personal history, their experiences, they profoundly shape how we see money, right?
Totally. What seems like a smart move to one person based on their background might feel totally alien or way too risky to someone else.
Yeah, that confidence level varies hugely.
And you've got the millionaire fast lane. It paints a pretty stark picture, doesn't it? That contrast with the 30K millionaire.
Oh, yeah, the person driving the fancy car, but maybe doesn't have much else behind it.
Exactly. That book really hammers home the point that real wealth isn't about how things look. It's about building a portfolio of assets, things that actually make you money.
And it's blunt about it, too. It basically says many people are poor simply because they make poor financial choices.
Ouch. But it ties directly into cash flow quadrant, right? Which gives that clear framework, assets versus liabilities.
Yes, understanding that difference is key. Assets put money in your pocket, liabilities take it out.
And the house example is classic. Your primary home, it feels like an asset, but if it's not generating income and you're just paying the mortgage, taxes, upkeep.
In a strict financial sense, it can actually be a liability. The focus really needs to shift towards acquiring assets that, actively work for you.
Which kind of leads us to the intelligent investor, while some people might chase those super high growth companies.
Paying crazy high prices for the stock.
Right. This book advocates for a more, grounded strategy, looking for companies where the stock prices may be at or even below their tangible asset value.
It's a much more rational approach, less speculative, less dependent on market hype.
So connecting this back to the listener, the first big step isn't about finding some complex investment scheme.
No, not at all. It's about cultivating that mindset, that internal shift, prioritizing building real income-generating assets over just, looking rich.
It's a fundamental reorientation of how you think about money. Okay, so mindset is step one. What's next?
Well, next up is getting a handle on the actual cash. Control cash, budget/debt.
Because it doesn't matter how strong your wealth mindset is if your money is just like leaking out everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like trying to fill a leaky bucket.
Exactly.
And the total money makeover, it really tackles those debt myths head on.
Oh, definitely. Emphasizing that your income, that's your number one wealth building tool, not your ability to borrow more money.
Yeah, the whole core of that total money makeover approach is about being intentional, living differently now so you can live differently later. making those changes.
Which really resonates with that first principle from The Richest Man in Babylon, doesn't it? Pay yourself first.
It does, by consistently saving, what was it, at least 10% of your earnings?
Yep, 10%. You're establishing that foundational habit for building wealth over time.
And then your money or your life brings in this really thought-provoking angle, thinking about spending in terms of your life energy.
Right, the actual hours of your life you trade for the money you spend, it makes you incredibly mindful.
Yeah, mindful of where it's all going and helps you define what enough actually means for you in terms of your time and, well, your values.
And what's fascinating is how the Millionaire Next Door backs this up with real-world data.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, it shows that many actual millionaires, they live surprisingly frugal lives. They prioritize accumulating wealth over, buying flashy status items.
Oh, that's often the opposite of what people assume.
Totally. The book even talks about this concept called economic outpatient care.
What's that?
It's where people with really high spending habits often get financially supported by others, like their parents, because they haven't learned to control their own cash.
Okay. And the automatic millionaire really hits on the danger of just letting spending happen without any kind of plan.
Right. It stresses how crucial it is to have a system. A system to manage your money effectively, so you're not just spending everything you make.
Or worse, spending more than you make.
Exactly. So for you, the listener, the real power here is in taking deliberate control. That means, maybe starting a budget just to see where the money's going.
And then actively working to get rid of debt. Maybe using something like the debt snowball method from Total Money Makeover.
Yeah, paying off the smallest debts first gives you those psychological wins, keeps you motivated. It's all about being conscious, being intentional with every dollar.
Okay, so mindset, check. Controlling cash, check. Now what?
Now we make it easy on ourselves. Automate savings. Pay yourself first automatically.
This is where that pay yourself first idea really takes flight, isn't it?
It absolutely does. The automatic millionaire just champions this idea. Make your savings automatic. Treat it like a bill.
Like your electricity bill or your rent, something you have to pay each month, only this time you're paying yourself.
Precisely. And the author quotes Sue McIntyre, who said, "Just do it once."
Huh. I like that.
And that's the beauty of automation, right? You set up the system once, and then it just runs in the background.
Consistently building your savings without you needing to constantly think about it or make that decision every single payday.
Takes the willpower out of it.
And the Boglehead's Guide to Investing. It gives such a compelling reason why starting early and being consistent is so important.
Oh, that example is powerful, showing how a 25-year-old needs to save way less each year than a 35-year-old to hit, say, $1 million by retirement age.
It really highlights the magic of compounding over time, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And again, this isn't new wisdom. The richest man in Babylon laid this groundwork ages ago. Just regularly save a portion of your income. Simple, but profound.
So how do you actually do this automation?
Well, practically speaking, you can set up automatic transfers from your checking account to your savings or investment accounts right on payday.
Or through payroll deductions, maybe. A lot of employers let you split your paycheck.
Exactly. Send some directly to your 401k or maybe a separate savings account before you even see it. The key is just making it frictionless, consistent, automatic.
Okay, makes sense. Mindset, control, automation. What's the final piece?
The final piece is often where people feel the most intimidated, but it doesn't have to be. Invest simply. Index funds for long-term growth and maybe some other considerations.
Yeah, investing can feel overwhelming. But the core message from several of these books is actually surprisingly straightforward, isn't it? Keep it simple.
Totally. The Little Book of Common Sense Investing, for instance, makes a really strong case for just investing in low-cost index funds, funds that track the whole market.
And the logic there is that it's just incredibly difficult, even for the pros, to consistently beat the market average over the long haul, especially after you factor in their fees.
Exactly. The book points out that by just buying a broad market index fund, you basically sidestep the risks of trying to pick the winning stock or trying to time the market ups and downs.
Or even picking the star fund manager who might not be a star next year.
Right. You're essentially accepting the overall market risk, which historically has provided pretty solid long-term returns. And interestingly, even really sophisticated folks like Warren Buffett and Andrew Lo, they advocate index funds for most people.
Yeah, I've heard Buffett say that. And a random walk down Wall Street kind of backs this up too, right? highlighting how unpredictable the market is.
Yeah, how hard it is to accurately forecast future earnings and just the generally poor track record of actively managed funds trying to beat the market consistently, especially after their higher fees are accounted for.
It even mentions Benjamin Graham, the sort of father of value investing.
Later in his life, acknowledging how hard active stock picking actually is to do successfully and seeing the merits of a more passive, diversified approach, kind of leaning towards that efficient market idea.
Interesting. So the active managers often don't beat the simple index.
Often, no, especially over longer periods. The Boglehead's guide reinforces this, explaining how index funds just aim to match the market return, and they do it with really low expense ratios.
Low fees are key.
Huge. As Jack Bogle famously said, something like, the shortest route to top quartile performance is to be in the bottom quartile of expenses. Low fees compound just like returns do, but in your favor.
Makes sense. And even the intelligent investor, which does get into more active strategies like value investing.
It still acknowledges how hard it is to consistently find those undervalued companies and notes that, yeah, many pros fail to beat the simple market averages.
And I guess the millionaires in the Millionaire Next Door, even if they weren't explicitly index fund investors, their whole vibe was long-term buy and hold, not frantic trading.
Exactly. That mindset aligns really well with a simple, long-term index fund strategy.
Okay, so the key takeaway here for you, the listener, seems to be the power of keeping it simple with investing for the long term.
Definitely. By using low-cost, diversified index funds, you capture the growth of the overall market. You don't need to be a stock-picking genius or pay high fees for someone else to try and fail.
And while some books might touch on other things, like bonds maybe,
Yeah, the intelligent investor talks about government and municipal bonds, and Bogleheads mentions things like I-bonds or TPS for inflation protection.
but the core message for most people looking to build long-term wealth through investing seems to circle back to the efficiency and effectiveness of simple index funds.
That's right. Keep it simple, keep costs low, stay diversified, and stay the course.
All right, let's try and bring this all together then. We've explored how that think rich, acquire assets mindset is really the crucial starting point.
Yeah, getting your head right first.
Then we looked at the absolute importance of taking control of your cash, budgeting, getting rid of debt,
Mastering the outflow.
then making it easy by automating your savings, making sure you consistently pay yourself first.
Setting up the system.
And finally, the power of investing simply for the long haul, with a really strong emphasis on those low-cost index funds for diversified growth.
Yeah, and these aren't just, random tips pulled out of thin air.
No, these are core principles that show up again and again across a whole range of really respected financial books. It provides a solid, robust framework for building lasting wealth.
It's an integrated approach, really, drawing from different philosophies, but pointing towards a practical, sustainable path to financial well-being.
So, as you, listening today, reflect on all this, maybe ask yourself, which one of these principles, which area, resonates most strongly with you right now?
And maybe more importantly, what's one small thing, one tangible step you could actually take this week to start putting it into practice in your own life?
Yeah, because remember, even those seemingly minor actions, when they're consistent, they can lead to really significant financial results over time.
That first step, however small it feels, it's often the most important one you take.
Absolutely. Well, if you found this deep dive into the secrets of getting richer valuable, please do subscribe to the channel. We'll have more in-depth discussions and talks focused on personal finance and, well, building a brighter financial future.